it was the same day. I just made an earlier recording today about Israel and Hamas. And a flashback. I took the flashback because Israel is, they're not just thinking about, they have objectives and goals. They're not just thinking about anger. This is not rage and revenge. This is rage, revenge, and then opportunism. Trying to find a way to take advantage of the situation. This underlying Hamas threat's been long-term. They got elected once, and then it became this culture of just kind of subserviency to Hamas. All of Gaza fell to them, and their standard declined, obviously, after seeing ISIS. After all, they're brethren with people in Syria. Those Ikhwan, or the people of the eastern part of Syria, they're the same kind of nation. Even though I would argue Ghazawis are more from the Egyptian Vilayat of Egypt, which was what they're from. They're actually Egyptian people, but half of Gaza is also people from the West Bank. Today they're more or less just Palestinians. We call them Gazans because they're separated and divided. And now I'm going to make the parallel. It's like Bangladesh and Pakistan. Very different people. But in Bangladesh, there were Urdu-speaking people that were very related to other Urdu-speaking people, which were Muslims of India. It was a different kind of deal. But I'll make a parallel about the two countries. You see, if India couldn't rule as new leaders, the Hindus were the majority, but they were not dominant. They were not dominant in resource and power and wealth. They had a few Maharaja states and so on. But it was the Muslims that had all the dominance over India, right? If India cannot rule justly over their previous occupiers, as they see it, the Mughal people, the Mughals, then how is Israel going to lead who used to be the dominant group in that region? They weren't the dominant group, but they were the majority group. If Israel can take care of Palestinians and give them equality and justice, every man who walks up to a judge or applies for some kind of legal protection gets it right away. It's the microcosm of how can India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and even Sri Lanka, how can they be one nation? They can't. They'll have to be an economic bloc. Then there's still borders, there's still passport in, passport out, slight separation, but closer in ties through economics, which is the future. The future is, we're trying to say humanity's risen above the level of personal hatreds and vendettas and differences, and instead we're looking at a new world where what we have in common is to live and let live. We all want comforts, we all want to be able to afford our lives, we want our children to be chubby, and we want to see happy faces at the table, at the dinner table. Ultimately, that's the human desire, and no one's been able to really pull that off. For a while, the Romans had a similar design. Even though they had graded citizenships, people from Carthage had, a different thing. Then there were slaves also, but slaves were also, it could be, anyway, the point is, if Israel can't do that, then India can't do it. If Israel can do it, and they're successful in their model, like I said, every single person gets equality no matter what, the judges are impartial, there's no corruption in the ranks, then India can do it. India can rule over all those other countries and give the Muslims and the non-Hindu majority Sikhs, who are a minority, but they're a loud minority, they're a big race, they've had a strong presence, they're very loud people. Wherever they live, they let their presence known. They're not quiet people. Punjabi Sikh people especially. They're also Gujarati Sikh people. That would be the way to do it. That would be the way to do it. If Israel pulls it off, India can pull it off. But I think at this point, because of the differences that have already emerged from a nation that is divided, this Indo group, this huge Indo nation, it's a huge nation. It starts off just in the Indus Valley and it spreads into this whole swath, this huge land all the way from Burma down all the way to Sri Lanka and so on. So that was my idea, that I see the same kind of situation with a few different characteristics, because you see that Jews and Zionism brought Jews, because of the situation, back to this homeland. Whereas with India, it was always seen as one great country with many, many differences, with many, many uniquenesses. So I think that ultimately is my idea. It's just a parallel I wanted to create. That in today's world, if you can see a minority that has become a majority rule over everyone justly, then they've already won. And that's all.